Hi, this video will be another in my Easter card series. This card has a gold thread accent and a gold metallic paper accent on the front. I've done a little watercoloring here and it has a very simple message on the inside. If you have watched my other video for this card, I will link to it in the comments below. When I cut this die cut out, I mentioned that I hated using all of this pretty gold paper when it would be covered by this die cut panel here. So at the same time that I cut this one out, I ran the die cut through and got a smaller cut from the center so it wouldn't be wasted, as you see here. So this card is using this cutout that I got there. So let me go through the other materials this card will use. Excuse me, I had a bit of a choking fit. I have a card base cut 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. I have a blue mat cut 4 by 5 1/4. I have a white watercolor panel. You can use any watercolor paper, but this is Bristol watercolor paper. And this is cut 3 3/4 by 5. And I have a very small piece of watercolor paper cut 2 3/4 by 2. I'll be using a gold thread for the accent of the card. The inks I'm going to be using today is Lulu Lavender by Memento, Versafine Onyx Black, Tumbled Glass Distress Ink, and I will also be using an ink blending tool. I'm going to be doing a little bit of embossing, so I'll need to use my clear embossing powder, and that means of course my embossing tool to help me with the stickage. And the watercoloring that I'm using today will be the Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. I have a set of 60. I have a number of colors that I pulled out to make the different flowers, but I'm not going to go through them all, but they'll be listed down below. I'm also using the Wink of Stella Gold Glitter Pen. In addition, I will need some water and a watercolor brush. The stamps I'm using today is my little dollar stamps. I've used it many times already. Inkadinkado. This is the Sunday Sketchers and the Good News stamp set, and I have some framelits which are this is no name framelits, and this is similar to the Spellbinders label framelit set. So if you had that, you can make this card too, or if you had the Stampin' Up version of this. Alright, let me clear all this stuff away and I'll start showing you how I made the card. The first step would be to do the die cutting. Since I already have this die cut, I'm not showing that step, but you would just take your die cut, put it over your gold paper, and also put it over your watercolor panel and run it through your Big Shot. And I have that piece also ready to go. So the next thing is to bring in my Misty tool and do the stamping on the front panel. I already have my stamp where I need it to be, so I just put my larger watercolor panel in here. Now I'm going to run my embossing tool over it to make sure that I don't get any sticking where I don't want it. This just adds a thin layer of talc. Now I'm going to be doing the trick where you emboss clear over black. I prefer that rather than working with black embossing powder because the Versafine ink stays wet a little bit longer, but you just have to have your powder ready to go. So I have a little spoon here. So I'm inking up the stamp it right on here and just drop it right in to the powder while it is still wet. Okay. I'm also going to stamp. I'll clean this off later. I'm also going to stamp the sentiment for this one and emboss that also. Since this is so little, I'm not going to bother with the embossing tool for this one. But if you thought it would be a problem, you could go ahead and do it, of course. It's a little tricky doing this, reaching over so many things so that it's in the camera's view. Okay, I'm going to take these both pieces off camera and emboss them. Be right back. Now I have both pieces ready to go. So I'm going to do the watercoloring now. So bring in the colors that I've selected, and I'll need this water too. I'm going to set it out of my way for now. This basically is a very simple process using these markers. I need my water pen, and I will just drop the color in where I need it. It just takes a very little bit. I'm not putting a lot on. And then using my water pen, just spread it out to the petals. This marker flows really good on this particular watercolor paper. This is Bristol. I just realized I didn't show it. Bristol Strathmore paper. This works very well with these markers. So I'm going to just speed this part up because it's basically just watching me drop colors down. For the sun, I'm just going to drop in the yellow and give it a slight highlight of the red. But I'm going to drop that on very gently because I don't want it to overpower it. Okay. Now, petal. Now it's all dry. The paper warps just a little bit, so just give it a little bending back. So the next step, I forgot to mention, I'm using Twisted Citron Distress Stain, and I'm going to make a thin wash over the entire surface of this panel. And this is pretty cut and dry. So I'll speed this part up, and then after I get it on there, I'm going to dry it again. So I need to bring a lot of water in because I don't want it to be too dark. Okay. Now, one thing you may have noticed, which I didn't notice immediately, is I ran my wet brush over the flower, so that made my colors run a little bit. If you do this, don't run over the colors, but I think it'd still be fine. It gives it a very nice watercolor effect. So again, there's a lot of warping from the extra moisture, but the paper, you just bend it back. If your paper warps too much, you can run your heat tool on the bottom side of the paper as well as the top, and the water warping will minimize a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to do the stamping for the inside of the card. Next step, I'm finished with this. Take this, put it away so I won't knock that over. So for the inside of the card, I have this sentiment, for God so loved the world, and I have some flowers. So I'm stamping this in the Versafine, and the flowers I'm going to stamp in the Lulu Lavender. I have my stamp cleaner soaking this rag over here. There's a video on my channel showing how to make this homemade stamp cleaner for very, very, very minimal cost. What was I going for? Oh yes, the flowers and the lavender. Okay. Almost done at this point. Let that dry for a second, and I'm going to do a little ink blending on the outside of this panel. You just lightly go around the edges, not too heavy, to give it a little bit of interest. If you didn't make a blue background here, if you chose another color, then you could just distress the edges of this with whatever color that you happen to choose. Now I'm going to assemble. My ATG gun and my bone folder, press a good seam, finish with that, and start to assemble. When you're doing watercoloring, you need to be really generous with the tape to make sure that your panel will lay flat and it doesn't buckle. Okay. And this, I'm going to tape it down to that. Now I could, in fact, run this through my Big Shot and get another little piece out and save it for later. I think I'm going to do that. I'm sorry, I'm so cheap with glitter paper. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. And I have cut out the inside. I guess watch for a new video showing how I use that one. All right, to continue. I'm going to put tape on this to tape it to the frame. And as you see, that hole is covered right up. Make sure it's straight. Okay, and foam tape on the back. Taking my gold thread, and if you've been watching my videos, you know that the painful part is about to come. So I may just fast through this, but just wrap it around 2 times and tie a knot. This particular thread is kind of wonky, so I have to tie a knot, then a bow. I'll speed this part up. And I got it. Oh boy. Not a fan. Okay, the last step is to sparkle up the leaves of the Bible with the gold wink of Stella. And I think I'm going to use my sparkle pen and sparkle up the flowers a little bit. Even though it is a lot of sparkling already, I can't help it. Okay. And that's the finished card. I hope you will try it yourself. It should not be too difficult to get your hands on a similar shape to this. And you could use any sentiment that you had that you felt was appropriate. You could change the colors as you wanted. Just remember, don't make that mistake with the water on the watercoloring like I did. Thanks for watching. I appreciate all the good comments that I'm getting. Have a good day.